This episode is proudly supported by Anchor Food Professionals, makers of mainland cheese. Here's Andy Sy from the Notting Hill Hotel.
We've been using them for a few years now, using their tasty and mozzarella cheese. We go through about 135 kilos a week at the moment. So a huge number. So we use it for our garlic bread, our pizzas, our parmas, our bechamel, our cheese sauce for our croquettes and arancini, throughout our lasagnas, anywhere we can really. It's such a good product. You know, having the freshest chips to your freshest chicken to a freshly crumbed schnitzel and topping up with a really high quality cheese is amazing.
For more information, go to anchorfoodprofessionals.com.
Like, we love all spices, but pepper just has a really clean brightness to it that kind of makes everything better.
This is The Producers. I'm Dani Valent. Royce Akers is 1/3 of Pep, a peppy new Australian brand shaking up the world of pepper. Even though pepper has a dramatic and storied history, a driver of fortunes and cross-cultural connection, Royce and his friends thought it had lost its way a little these days. Ubiquitous but underappreciated, rarely elevated or feted in the same way that salt is, for example. From lack comes opportunity.
So Pep came about from hanging out over lunch. And we were having this beautiful lunch, and it was this really nice quality steak, and there was amazing olive oil and expensive mustard and gourmet sea salt, and the greens came from a biodynamic, farm, and we were just remarking on how elevated everything was, the wine, the water, and then we looked at the pepper on the table, and it was just some fairly standard supermarket brand of pepper, all crumbly and dry, and we're like, oh, is that it? Surely there's better pepper too. And that kind of just sparked a little question in our minds that we returned to a fair bit over the next couple of weeks, and then eventually let's go find some really good pepper. So we did some research, and we actually sent away for some pepper samples from across Southeast Asia, Vietnam, India, Thailand, and Cambodia, and then what happened is we just had this big tasting sesh one day with all these peppers, and we were amazed to find how different they all were. For starters, they are all a lot more vibrant and complex than the peppers we were used to. But then in between those different peppers, there was some that were a lot more herbaceous or fruity, and some were a lot more punchy and spicy. Some were bitter, some were sweet, and that just kind of blew our minds because it's like something that we never really thought of. And the more we talked to other people about it, it seemed like a lot of other people didn't really know about it either.
The Pep trio sampled many peppers, filtering out the meh and the blah before landing on pepper from the Memot region of Cambodia, rich in essential oils and a signature piperine kick. Royce explains why they love it.
We settled on our favourite, and it came from a place in Cambodia called Memot. Now, Cambodia is famous for pepper. If you go there, a lot of people end up coming home with kilos of pepper, and unfortunately a lot of it gets seized at the border. But the most famous pepper in Cambodia is called Cam Pot, and it's sort of the champagne of pepper. And that comes from Cam Pot, which is coastal region in the south. Ours comes from up north in a volcanic area. So as you can imagine, like with grapes or olives or coffee or any kind of produce, where it comes from should really be present in the final product. So a lot of rain, a lot of minerals in the soil, and it sort of produces a really punchy and fragrant pepper that we really love. And I think we let me just start the next bit again. So once we had this pepper in hand, we actually did a lot of market research just with our friends. We had all these little envelopes with a little pinch of pepper grains in them, and we would give them out to our friends and see what they thought too, because we were just wondering if it was just us. But time and time again, people were like, "Whoa, that's like that's so much more peppery than we're used to." And the thing about pepper is, everyone says they're like they're really into pepper. Like everyone says they really love pepper. But then, you give them this better pepper, and it is kind of a fun moment, watching them realize that, it's a thing that can be elevated.
History is peppered with pepper stories. It's driven empires and untold wealth. Pepper was one of the first commodities traded between Asia and Europe, and in medieval times it was a favoured currency used in dowries and to pay rent.
It has been a driver of commerce. It's one of the key commodities that has really shaped, economies and over centuries. It's interesting though, because I think there's all this stuff about how it's sort of said to be responsible for the downfall of the Roman Empire, because they put a tax on it to pay for all the military campaigns, or there's times where it's been more expensive than gold and all these sorts of things. But I think the really interesting thing about pepper is that it's become kind of this synonymous go-to pairing with salt. And you'd think that stretches way, way, way back, but it only really started happening in around the Renaissance period. Before that, like in the Middle Ages and in the Dark Ages, there was people would just put every spice that they could reach for into their cooking. I think maybe to mask, unrefrigerated meats and stuff like that. So you had these really crazy flavor profiles that just had like cinnamon and nutmeg and pork and goose and all these things together. And it wasn't until around the Renaissance period where some French chefs started to codify cooking and systemize it. So they simplified all the flavor profiles, tried to get a real pure approach to cooking. And that's when they reached for pepper, because pepper is shelf stable. It's really complementary. It doesn't overpower things. Like we love all spices, but pepper just has a really clean brightness to it that kind of makes everything better. Which goes to our mission, is like, if pepper makes everything better, a better pepper surely is going to make everything better.
Today we think of salt and pepper as a classic duo. What role does each condiment have?
The beauty of salt and pepper is that, that you take the simplest thing, like a boiled egg or a fresh tomato or some cucumber, add a little salt. The salt will make it more flavorful and bring out sweetness or herbaceousness and that sort of thing. But then pepper just sort of makes everything more interesting. It gives it the bite. It gives it that little hint of, I guess, pain a little bit that we seem to really miss when it's missing. So from simple things right up to, finishing off your really technical, dishes, salt and pepper, it is what am I saying here? Salt and pepper, yeah, it's tried and true for a reason. Good pairing for a reason.
Perceiving a gap in the market is one thing. Creating a pepper company is another. How did it all come about?
One of the first questions we had was like, why couldn't the pepper just look better? A lot of the grinders in the supermarkets just looked really kind of plasticky and not very considered. And we all have, backgrounds in publishing and media and marketing. We thought, well, you could just spruce that up, and automatically it's a better choice, because you want to have a nice package on your table or in the pantry, just like, those beautiful Sicilian salts and those great olive oils that come out now with the great labels and stuff like that. So that was sort of the first point, and then we really started to question, like, do we want to? Is that what we want to stand for? Just like wrapping, So that's when we really dug in about finding a really great product. And then the design phase was also obviously really important. We worked with Benny Moore, who I work with quite a lot in sort of a advertising capacity. Just a brilliant designer. He's done a bunch of labels for soft drinks and food, and we happened on this kind of timeless, nostalgic look and feel. It kind of looks like it's been around, but it's not like a pastiche of a particular era. Very bright, so it stands out. And I think, like, when people see it, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Like, but we're really happy that that's not where it ends. They really like the product too. In terms of getting the brand out there, I think we kind of started with like ourselves as the target audience and our friends. So we did, like I said, we asked a lot of people this simple question over and over again, like what salts do you have in your kitchen? And they were able to reel off, mold and Himalayan, Sicilian, on and on and on. All these different brands and provenances of the salt and where they use them, what was for cooking, what was for finishing, all this sort of stuff. Very sophisticated in terms of that. Same with olive oil, same with coffee. But then when it came to pepper, they're almost a little bit sheepish in admitting that, they just got what was on the shelf. So that was a real hook that we identified early. And I guess we tried to bring that across in our early, attempts at advertising and conversations and stuff like that. But it did kind of work, because I think, we as a sort of a culture, we do recognize opportunities to, it's not necessarily indulge, but to elevate. And so that was a real key plank of getting it out there. The other really incredible thing for us is that so many people have, kind of embraced pep as a collaborator or as a ingredient that they can use to try different things. So like with amazingly, we had an ice cream collaboration with Piccolina. They made this kind of bacon and egg inspired ice cream cup with a little mango yolk and a coconut egg white, and under there was a pepper ice cream. And when brands like that, or like Moon Cruller, who made a cacio e pepe cruller using pep, when they come on board and they say they're excited about it, it's just the most incredible thing for us.
If you've seen Pep's red and yellow packaging, you might wonder why there's a goat on the box. Royce makes it make sense.
When we were thinking about how we were going to bring pepper into the world, one interesting thing is that we just thought we'd make a box, and we just wanted to make the most beautiful box you could make. And I think, like, if you're like me, you walk through supermarkets, especially when you're overseas, and you're just looking through all the different packages, and there's something really sort of glorious about the dimensions of a box, so we wanted to make the best one possible. We picked colors that are really, really vibrant. I don't know if you've seen pep, you'll see that it's got a big red pep on it, and then it's got this kicking goat. And for the longest time, the goat was a horse. And we just kept wondering whether a horse was just a bit generic, and how it related to pepper beyond just having some kick. It also sort of felt a little cowboy and Western. So right up until like the second last version of the pack, it was a horse, and then we're like, we got to find another animal that kicks, and then we chose the goat, which is sort of we call the goat Peppy, is our little mascot. In terms of just being useful, like we think like packaging always shouldn't just contain your product. It should sort of improve it and add utility. So there's a pop-out funnel on the back, because we all hate when we try to refill our grinder and peppercorns end up on the floor and you're stepping on them and all sorts of things like that. So trying to make it easy for people in that regard. The grinder was something that happened. It was almost like begrudging that we made a grinder because we assumed that everybody would have a grinder, like especially talking to people who have dinner parties and, pride themselves on good, cooking and things like that. But the more we asked people, they were like, oh, no, I'm just using the disposable one. Or, I've got one, but it's, I took it from my parents' house and it's crap or whatever. So we're like, can we make a grinder that's reusable, that's adjustable, and that looks great? It was a bit of a challenge because, like, if you do go through the supermarket, you see a lot of those plastic ones or the ones that are kind of shaped like hourglasses and they have like that little chrome rim or something. And it's just a bit nana-ish or something. I don't know if that's a term, but we found we were able to source one and we're using a smoky glass, which gives it a really cool look. But the best thing about it is, it's got a ceramic burr that will hold up, and you can refill it countless times and not be just throwing away these plastic bits all the time.
When you're pegging your pepper on its special origins, it's important to understand where it comes from, how it grows, and how it's processed. Royce explains the journey.
Before any of this got locked in, Mikey headed over and visited the plantations and talked to the suppliers and got a real lay of the land there. I was able to sample, the cuisine there as well and how it's used. We're looking forward to getting back there as a trio. Yeah, we just turned one a few weeks ago, and I think a trip back to Cambodia is definitely called for. We want to continue to grow our relationship with the people who are responsible for this incredible pepper. Pepper vines kind of look like miniature grapevines. They grow on these a lot like grapevines. They grow on these big plantations, and when they harvest them, depending on whether you want to end up with black pepper or green pepper or white pepper, you process it differently, but it's all the same plant. So black pepper is harvested and dried. Sometimes it's sort of blanched first, like just submerged in boiling water for a brief period as it comes off the vine, and then dried. For green pepper, it's brined early, so you keep that that softness and that vegetal kind of quality, and then with the white pepper, you actually skin it, and then sometimes it's fermented, and then but yeah, that's why you get like a sort of a smoother finish with white pepper. We focus on black pepper because it has the most uses, but we're not sure what we'll do in the future. There's other peppers that aren't from the same species. So like pink peppercorns, for example, are like, that's more of a relative of the cashew tree. So if you get a pepper medley and there's pink peppercorns in there, that's not actually pepper. And then the other one is Sichuan pepper, which is weirdly like more of a citrus than a pepper, but obviously an amazing plant and ingredient that we all love as well.
Starting a business is never a walk in the park. What are some of the challenges faced by the Pep crew?
Is it hard? Like it's a lot of work, and there's some funny things that you end up trying to figure out, like when it's supply chain and the lead times are really long because the grinders come from here and this other part comes from somewhere else, and then things have to be packed within a certain time frame of the harvest or whatever. Like, it's really complex, and we're lucky to have between the three of us, people that are good at different kinds of thinking. And then just in terms of like hitting people up, like I can honestly say that I'm the least salesy guy of the trio. So I kind of am more in brand and content land. Mikey and Josh, they're just so fun to work with. We've been friends for a long time. I think that's definitely a piece of advice. I can't imagine doing something like this on my own. If you have people that you've worked with before, you've been through things before to a point where you know that, you can be honest with each other and have fun with each other, even when you're doing, some kind of menial packing work. That's a definite good part of it.
A pepper shared is heaps more fun. Royce outlines a few brand collabs.
Some other interesting collaborations we've done. We've got Perfume, which is a pepper infused all natural fragrance that comes in a little roll on. Bryony Wright from Crush's studio, she's a florist and a perfumer, makes it with us. And that's just a really cool little use for pepper that helps us talk about how fragrant pepper should be. Like pepper is an ingredient in a lot of fragrances. We're not the inventors of it or anything like that, but it's just a really nice natural scent. And then more recently, we partnered with Mischief Brew, who make really great soft drinks out of Adelaide, to create the Dock, which is a pepper soda. Like pepper sodas have been around for a long time. Like Dr. Pepper is probably the most famous. So we've created with them. When I say with them, they obviously took the lead. They're the experts on it. They've created this amazing elevated pepper soda that's very sort of cherry based, with all these different spices and this beautiful long pepper tail at the end. It's not going to, blow your head off with a big pepper hit at the start. It's more of this nice crackling warmth that you enjoy in sort of the back end of the flavor profile. It's really smart. Like those guys are doing incredible things. And that launched about a month ago, and you'll be able to pick that up in a lot of your favorite grocers.
It's been a big first year for Pep, but there's much more to come. What does the future hold for the brand and the trio that run it?
The ambition for Pep is just to keep having fun with it. I think like do what pepper does for food, for culture, I guess. Pepper makes things more interesting and more enjoyable. I think we want to keep surprising ourselves with the kinds of ways that we show up, the collaborations and the people that we work with. We want to keep eating delicious things with people, with each other. I think if we can hold on to those motivations, I think the brand will always have that energy, and we'll keep enjoying it.
Pepper is at least 4,000 years old, but Pep has just turned 1. The Melbourne trio is excited about getting some of the world's best single origin pepper into spice pantries and onto dinner tables, honouring its origins and exploring its possibilities, both in a culinary sense and in terms of business, branding and collaboration. Pep is on a mission to restore pepper to its place as ruler of all spices. This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Dani Valent. Stay tuned as we talk to some of Australia's best farmers, makers and growers. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast or contact us via deepintheweeds.com.au.